Waiting on President Trump, expected to sign an executive order this hour, we believe, which could set up a deal to spin off the U.S. operations of TikTok to a group of American investors. And Jason Tartick is back on the show today with us. Big deal on TikTok, by the way, host of the Trading Secrets podcast. How many TikTok followers do you have?
I was going to say, I don't know if I'm that big of a deal. A few 100,000.
A few 100,000?
Yeah.
Bigger than me. I don't even have an account, but that's weird. I have all the other ones for some reason and not TikTok. But how big a deal is this deal going to be, you think, for the future TikTok? And
I mean, it's a huge deal, right? Back in January, when they did the nationwide ban for one day, the creators that I work with from the agency I own and myself, we were panicking because this is a big source of revenue to us. Not only to us individually, but also United States. I think in 2023, TikTok created $5 billion in tax revenue for the United States. It created over 224,000 jobs for the United States. So that's as a whole. But from a creator perspective, what's interesting, if you look back at like 2020, 2021, when COVID popped off, that was when TikTok popped off. Now, big companies like Fortune 500 companies, they were still activating at a higher rate and a lot more on Instagram, which of course is owned by Facebook Meta, which is US-based, publicly traded. They were slowly converting over to TikTok because there was so much unknown, especially as it being a Chinese-based company, a foreign adversary. But now in 2025, TikTok is a massive, massive revenue generator for small to medium-sized businesses in the United States and creators. So we're all saying, thank God a deal will get done.
All right, let's talk about it a little bit. On the screen, the Wall Street Journal reporting on the potential of what this deal will look like. We'll see what the president actually announces, but U.S. investors, they say, would control 80%, and China would control the rest. Data and privacy would be led by Oracle, Larry Ellison's company, and the algorithm, which everybody talks about, would be, they say, controlled by the United States. So we'll see. Again, are those the details? Maybe, and the president might talk about it later this hour. To go back to what you're saying, though, Jason, it's interesting because, like, you have a podcast as well, but if someone were to start a digital show or a podcast on YouTube, right, you'd be, they do the advertising, selling for you, and you make kind of a percentage of the revenue, right, basically, generally speaking. But on TikTok, I guess Instagram's this way as well, you're kind of cutting deals with companies. And that's like a sponsorship deal for someone like you, right? And you make the money directly depending on how many people watch your posts. So this could have a big effect.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest goal of any platform right now is to keep eyeballs on the platform.
Right.
So each one of those platforms will pay creators to create content, and they will pay you more the longer you can keep the audience engaged. Now, we know with TikTok, currently in the United States, Gen Z, they're spending roughly 2 hours a day on TikTok.
That's the algorithm.
That's the algorithm. Millennials around 68 minutes or so a day. So there's two things to think about here. To answer your question, platforms are paying creators to keep people on. The second thing they're doing is Fortune 500 companies and small businesses are activating with creators independently, one-on-one, business to consumer, to bring their ad to life. Now, if you look back in the day, like, people would pay for a ton of money for commercials and billboards, which you're still doing. But now you're getting more analytics with social media. As a result of that, there is no form of advertising anywhere in the United States that you are getting a better return with more visibility to analytics than social media. So,
and is TikTok number one on that?
TikTok is number one with that, and it's number one with active engagement, right? So it's the number one biggest social media platform. And the biggest thing I think we got to think about here is, how will that algorithm change? Because based on what we're seeing, there's going to be a lease of the algorithm. I'm looking at it like layman's terms, almost like a McDonald's, right? Like, if you have a McDonald's in France or China, you're still gonna have the same logo. You know, you might still have that same smell from the fryer, but is it exactly the same? I don't know.
A little bit, yeah. They would have like a local, you know, influence on it,
sure.
Right? Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.